welcome to yet another episode of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Fight Night, Prohaska versus Reyes. And I want to remind you to follow us over on Stats and Stacks podcast on Twitter and Instagram. But I'll go ahead. I'll start off on the previous episode. I did place a bet with the guest Tyler in reference to Devontae Smith's draft position. I did say he would go to the Lions. Unfortunately, the Lions are trying to lose games this season. So I will pay his league fees. And at that point, the good news is that you did, even if you bet it, the over-under was at 11 and a half and he went at 10. So if you bet it either way, you were going to make money. So that's kind of nice. At the same time, Fight Night or the UFC 261 last card last weekend, we did a phenomenal job. We did not get we got one fight wrong the entire prelims. And the main card got a little shaky with all these back-to-back leg breaks. You can't predict that. We don't know what was going to happen there. And then I was 50-50 on Rose and Jang and ended up on the Weili side. Unfortunately, that last second flip did cost us, but we did get the Valentina fight right, and good God, did we get the Usman fight right. So all in all, as long as we're positive, we're happy. So we're looking to carry that momentum over into this fight card. And it's a decent card. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst. It's pretty good. I mean, it's underrated. We'll go ahead and we'll start with the first fight of the night. We have Luke Sanders going against Philippe Flores. First, we'll start with Luke. The odds themselves are interesting. We have the odds for Luke Sanders at minus 150. We have Philippe coming in short notice at plus 115. The over is 2.5, is minus 135. The under 2.5 is plus money at plus 105. And Luke's an interesting character, man. I mean, when you look at Luke, you see him being 15-4. He's a tale of two fighter. He comes out hot. He's pretty decent overall. He's a pretty good wrestler. His striking is good for being a wrestler. He's one of these guys that I feel like fell in love with it a little too much. But I mean, he can hold his own there. My problem is the people he's beating in the UFC. I mean, he beat the Henan Barao, who isn't even in the organization anymore. What a fall from grace that was. He beat Patrick Williams, who's not in the organization anymore, and Maximo Blanco, who's not in the organization anymore. So, I mean, he has 3 wins over people that are no longer in the UFC. And then he has 3 losses with Yuri. He has a loss with Andre, and he has a loss with Ronnie Yaya, and he's getting finished in all of these. So, I mean, he's good. It's just he comes out hot and then kind of gasses out a little and then does something stupid. You never know what it's going to do, but his fight IQ is in the freaking dumpster. It is not good. So he's hard to trust. You trust the talent, but you don't trust his mindset. He's just real wild, man. I know that he used to, I'll tell you how unstable this man is. He was dating Becky Lynch at in her prime when she was the man and decided, I need to focus on my MMA career and dumped her. Like, what type of, that's how you know that he's not mentally stable right now. But then you go over to the flip side with Philippe. He's an interesting character. I think he's a little overrated personally. People like his stand-up. I don't think it's the greatest. I think he packs a punch. I think he has pretty good power. The only thing is he's kind of hittable. So both of this, when this fight is on the feet, it's going to get real interesting. The thing is, if Philippe is able to get this to the ground, his BJJ, he trains with the Nogueira brothers. This dude's BJJ is legit. Like, his jiu-jitsu is top notch. The problem is he can't wrestle that well. So how does he get it to the ground? At first I was saying, well, I'm going to lean towards Luke because Philippe can't get it to the ground. But then I realized Luke will do something stupid. So I'm kind of torn here. The short notice isn't helping any. So at that point, the pick would be Luke. But when it comes to betting, I'd probably either do Philippe just for the dog money, or just take the under. Whether he catches Luke with something on the feet or gets him to the ground somehow, or Luke. Well, Luke isn't going to finish. That's the thing. Philippe is very, very tough to finish. He's never been finished in his career. He only has 2 losses. They're both by decision. And he took an ass whooping from Montel Jackson. So if Montel couldn't finish him, it's kind of hard to believe Luke would. So, I mean, honestly, I'll go ahead and just like the Rose and Whaley, I'll flip the script and just go with the favorite. I'll trust that Luke is not going to make a boneheaded decision, but there is not a shot that I'm betting this fight at all. If you just stay away from it. And then the next fight, we have KB Bowler going against Andres Michailidis. It's an interesting fight. We have Michailidis at minus 240 and KB at plus 200. We have the over at 1.5 at minus 135 and the under at 1.5 at plus 105. So we'll start with KB. Not a lot to report back, honestly. I tried to do some fight tape on him, and it's really tough to find any of his fights, which is weird. Even the ones I could find, or I should say the one that sticks out like a sore thumb is that loss to Tom Breeze. You're not misreading. He lost to a jab. So like they try to make it a little better and say power jab, but I mean, he did take the fight on short notice. So I don't know if he was mentally there all the way, but I mean, a jab is jabs are tough. Usman's putting people down with jabs, but it's not usual to get knocked out by a jab. And the reason it's concerning is his level of competition. You look at the guys he's fighting. Matt Dwyer is a former UFC vet. I mean, going 5 rounds with him and winning is okay. It's not like Matt's anything to write home about, but at least he was in the UFC. Outside of that, dude, look at this guy's record. The guys he's fighting. This guy was 16-13, 13-12, 4-8, 3-1, 5-8, 0-1, and 1-3. When I tell you this dude is padding his freaking record, this dude is padding like I've never seen before. He's shaky, man. There's no fight tape. And the one fight you do see that resonates with you is him getting knocked out by a jab. So that plus 200 is justifiable to me. The problem is the flip side. Andreas, first and foremost, he's a light heavyweight and he's making his first cut down to 185. So make sure you watch him at the weigh-ins. If he misses weight or if he looks a little depleted, go ahead and take the dog shot. But I mean, even at light heavyweight, he has 4 losses and they're all knockout losses. I don't know why it says retirement here. It was just a really weird fight, that Modestas loss, where he got elbowed in the back of the head, but the ref didn't call it. And then the cage door was open and he fell through the door. And if you leave the octagon during a fight, you automatically get disqualified. So it was just a really, really weird, will never happen again type scenario. But outside of that, his other loss was a knockout. He got side choked. It's just all of his losses are finishes, and even the guys he's beating, I mean, the records are a little better, and I've never heard of them. So I mean, just because I haven't heard of you doesn't mean you're not any good. But it just seems like his is a little padded as well. So the way I really look at it is you have someone that, at least the Modestas fight, I know Modestas, and I know what he's capable of doing, and it was somewhat competitive before the shot to the back of the head. So I'm definitely going to lean on the Andreas side. The only problem is he can't be trusted at minus 240. The line is off. The line is freaking ridiculous. So you have a underdog that possibly could be one of the worst fighters in the UFC, and then you have a favorite who's undependable. I would probably, if you feel the absolute need to bet this, go the under, considering Andreas did lose in the first round before, or in even the start of the second round. He's lost within that first minute and a half, and KB, watching him get jabbed by the first legitimate competition, scared the hell out of me. So if you're going to bet it, I'd probably just bet the under 1.5, considering it's plus money if you're going to take a shot. We have the next fight. We have Sam Hughes going up against Loma Lukombi. I'm sorry, I can't say it. Luma Lukombimi. She's good. We'll leave it at that. And I'll tell you how good she is. She's coming in at a minus. It got steamed all the way to minus 415 favorite right now. The comeback on Sam Hughes, we had at 325. The over 2.5, we have at minus 302. And the under 2.5. We have it plus 232. And I'll show you why. We'll actually start with Luma. She is freaking good, man. She's very, very underrated. I know her record says she's only 5-2, but the amount of just like Muay Thai fights that she's had is ridiculous. They're not going to show on here, but she's had a lot more experience than you think when you see the 5-2. And she hasn't had really like easy outs. She fought Jin Yu Frey, who's not that bad. She's a veteran of the game. Angela Hill clearly is very, very good. I mean, when you really break down her record, the reason it's a little tilting to bet is because minus 415, she is that good. The problem is she is an atomweight. She is not a straw weight whatsoever. They don't have a 105-pound weight class. So she is forced to fight at 115. She's trying to bulk up. She's trying to put on weight. But she's 5'1". She knows that if they had an atomweight, she might be atomweight champ between her and Tecia Torres. That's how good this girl is. She's just fighting a weight class up every single fight. Even her fights prior to UFC and Invicta were at atomweight. Like, I'm not just saying she's small. She used to literally weigh in at 105. But again, talent is going to prevail in some instances. Yeah, her stand-up game is ridiculous, man. She is a great Muay Thai fighter. She has pretty good cardio. It checked out. The only knock I have on her is that, again, it might be the weight difference, but she doesn't finish. And that's why you see that over steam to minus 300 and something. She doesn't get finishes. I mean, you just look at her record here. She got caught in an armbar for her first loss. Hey, stuff happens. She has one ground and pound finish. That's it. She has a whole bunch of decision, split decision, unanimous decision. She's a decision queen. She has pillow fists. So, I mean, if you're going to bet her, you could take her by decision, but even that's a little steamed. It's still only like minus 300 and something. So it's kind of tough. You're going to have to eat a lot of chalk on someone who's fighting a weight class up. The only reason I could justify doing it is because she's fighting Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes is not UFC caliber. Sam Hughes could potentially be good years down the road, but her 5-2 is a legitimate 5-2. There's no like 50 Muay Thai fights like lingering in the background. No, this girl is 5'2", and she's not good. She got sacrificed to Tecia Torres last fight. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. I know she filled in short notice. So I think that's what she was really just trying to get her out there. I mean, if the UFC is going to pay you to do it, I guess I understand. But Tecia is something serious, and I have no idea why they would just ruin this girl's mantra of feeding her to Tecia Torres. I mean, when I look at Sam fights, I guess you qualify her as a wrestler, but I don't see a ton of takedowns. But I see a lot of it's cage control. She'll shoot a takedown just to put you against the cage and control you. She'll hit you with some foot stomps and knee your knee and elbow you. And she's a lot of dirty boxing. And then she'll separate and she'll throw the hands. And I mean, her boxing offensively looks okay. The problem is she doesn't move her head in the slightest. She doesn't feel the need to, and she gets clipped every single time she separates. She gets clipped like crazy. So the worst part, the reason I would generally take a shot on someone that's plus 300, but she quit her last fight. Tecia Torres also is pillow fisted. She also could be at atomweight. So we've basically seen this fight. Luma is just a B version of Tecia Torres. But Tecia Torres finished her. She had a cut. She cut Sam's nose. The doctor came over to check, and Sam quit. She said she was done. So there's no way I'm putting money on someone that quit their last fight. She wasn't physically stopped. She said, I have a cut. I'm done. I don't like that. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. So I'm going to get wild. And I mean, I don't want to eat this much chalk, the minus 300 or the minus 415. I don't want to just pass. So if you're going to bet it, take the shot on the under. I know that Luma only has one finish. And Sam doesn't really have she has some submission wins. So if you're going to think, I mean, Sam's going to be quite a bit bigger than her. So maybe she gets her down somehow and chokes her out. And or Luma, I mean, if Sam's going to try to dirty box, it's kind of tough to do to someone who fights Muay Thai and is used to the clinch. Maybe she catches her with a knee. She may not hit hard. Maybe she knees hard. I know DC said that John Jones doesn't hit hard, but he kicks hard. Maybe it's the same ordeal for Luma. So if you're going to bet it at all, just take the shot on the under, considering it's plus 230. Take the shot, baby. Then we have our next fight. We have Kai Kamaka III going up against TJ Brown. The odds, we have Kai Kamaka at minus 160. We have TJ Brown at plus 135. We got the over 2.5 at minus 202 and the under 2.5 at plus 162. We'll start with Kai. And whenever you look at Kai, he kind of has the same ordeal as Luma. He's kind of pillow fisted. You look up and down his record. He has decision. I'm trying to actually find one where he has one rear naked choke. Otherwise, he's pillow fisted, man. He just can't finish. He's kind of a generalist. I can't say he's bad anywhere, but I can't say he's great anywhere. He's just like a C plus to a B at every aspect of the game. He also has some suspect competition. Looking at these guys' records, I mean, he beat someone that was 5-5, 1-8. He lost to someone that was 3-4, red flag, and then someone that was 2-1. I mean, he beat Rick James he was 6-4, 3-3, 5-3, 7-11. Like, these guys he's fighting are a little shaky. The Tony Kelly one looks good because Tony Kelly's pretty good. But Tony also took that fight on like a week notice, and that was a brawl. That was a war. I don't even know if that was a unanimous decision. It might have, in my opinion, it could have gone to Tony to an extent. He just doesn't believe in takedown defense, so it kind of ultimately bit him in the ass. But I mean, again, Kai's not bad anywhere, but he's not good, and he's fighting Cam. So I don't know if he's warranted a minus 160, especially against TJ Brown. He's a former collegiate wrestler, wrestled D1. His stand-up leaves a little to be desired, honestly. But again, his goal is just take you down. I know he was training with Bryce Mitchell for a while there, and decided to switch things up. And you can't switch it up to a better camp. The two top camps, in my opinion, right now are Glory MMA and Sanford. And he switched over to Glory. So, I mean, Glory and James Krause, they have some pretty decent strikers there. So they can definitely shore up that part of the game. TJ Brown also has a gas tank problem. That's probably one of his biggest knots. You see these people that come out and they wrestle the whole time and it just wears you out. That's the most tiring thing you can do is wrestle somebody. So I totally get that. And Glory, I mean, you look at like Derek Minner, he also has a gas tank issue. He won his last fight by decision. He made it all 15 and looked good. So maybe James Krause can help him kind of shore that up a little. The only thing with TJ is he has a little bit of questionable IQ as well. He was winning that Jordan Griffin fight. He was dominating him. But Jordan Griffin went for like 9 guillotines until he finally got this really funky one. But still, like, how many times can someone go for a guillotine? And you're allowing them to do it each and every time. So I don't know why he felt so comfortable there. Jordan Griffin is good on the ground, so stop giving him your neck. That's probably what I would suggest. And he paid for it. And then his last fight, he tried to stand up with Danny Chavez, who can only box. Like, I don't understand his fight IQ. It's a little questionable. So he really can't be trusted. But at least he's fighting actual competition with the Peter Garrett and the Jordan Griffins, Danny Chavez's of the world, training with Bryce Mitchell and now with James Krause as his coach, and plus money. So the pick is going to be TJ, and the bet is going to be TJ because he's plus money. So that's definitely one of the biggest underdogs that everyone's choosing, and honestly still one of my favorites. So I'd get on TJ quickly before he gets steamed. It's not the best value. Then we have the next fight. We have Gabriel Mowgli Benitez going against JSP, Jonathan Pierce. We'll start with Gabe. Gabe's a minus 200 favorite. Come back on Pierce as plus 170. The over-under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 162. Under 1.5 is plus 132. So when it comes to Gabriel, he's an interesting character as well. All anyone ever wants to talk about are his leg kicks, because they were saying that he has the hardest leg kicks in the game. I mean, that's nice to have, I guess. But the thing that concerns me is his wrestling. I know he's at AKA, but he's been at AKA for a while. So everyone says, oh, well, those guys, Habib and Islam, they're going to help him work on his wrestling. I actually think it's doing the opposite. What I think it's doing is he's so used to getting taken down, he can't stop these guys that he's just accepting being taken down. It's like he doesn't even try anymore. He focuses on his get up game instead of his takedown defense. That's just a personal assumption I have. And he's getting taken down a lot by like some people that aren't the greatest wrestlers. Then you look at other losses, like Sadiq put him out pretty early. I know Sadiq hits really hard. Andre Feely is good, but took him out early as well. It's like when he fights the people he's supposed to fight, the Jason Knights, the Banez, the Justin James Guitar Hero of the world, he wins and he looks impressive doing so. He takes them out. When he fights someone decent, like the Omar Morales, Sadiq Youssef, Andre Feli's, he gets taken out. So it's kind of like, what level is JSP? And JSP, I have one word to describe him when I did the fight tape on him: inconsistent. I never know what JSP you're getting. I watched the very, very first fight I watched with JSP. When I was doing fight tape, I thought he looked absolutely terrible, and I almost just placed a max bet against him right away. And then the next fight I watched, he looked phenomenal. So, like, I don't know what JSP we're going to get. And the crazy thing is that translates over to the UFC. You have him entering the UFC, his first fight, and get knocked out in a retirement fight by Joe Lozon. I didn't even know Joe Lozon was still fighting in 2019, but Joe Lozon came out and took him out in under a minute. Like, that's frightening. Joe Lozon's like 40 something years old, that not known as a power puncher. It's a little questionable when you come out and you get finished in the first minute by a 40-year-old with pillow fist. But then his next fight, he comes out against Kai Kamaka as a huge dog and knocks him out in the second round, takes him down, ground and pounds, and finishes. So it's really, you never know which JSP you're gonna get. He has some pretty good wrestling. I'll give him that. It's decent wrestling, and he has a lot of power. It's a crapshoot on what you're gonna get. So the pick would be Mowgli. I'll definitely take Gabriel Benitez for the pick. That's who I think is going to win. But if I'm going to bet it, honestly, I'd probably either do the under. Yeah, I'd probably just bet the under. You can take the chalk on Gabriel if you really, really are adamant in it, but the JSP inconsistency scares me. So I might just take the under 1.5 since it's plus money, and kind of work from there. But I wouldn't recommend betting this one either. You can bet this next fight though. I have Ronda Marcos going up against Luna Pinheiro. Ronda Marcos is a plus 140 dog. Comeback on Luana is minus 165. The over-under set at 2.5 with minus 202 at the over and plus 162 on the under. We'll start with Ronda, man. You look at Ronda and you see a 10-10-1 record. This girl is sub 500 almost, basically, considering she has a draw in there. But then you have to look at her losses, man. She lost to Kanaka Murata, who is an up-and-comer. She's a gatekeeper that keeps losing, but they're giving her the cream of the crop. I mean, Murata's okay. Mackenzie Dern is about to fight for a title. Amanda Ribas is really, really freaking good. Claudia Gadelha formerly fought for a title. Nina Nunez, it was like one fight away from fighting for a title. Alexa Grasso was a fight or two away from fighting for a title. Courtney Casey is okay. Carol Langridge fought for a title. I mean, Jessica Bonet was good. Rose Namajunas is champ. Her losses, she's losing to title challengers, someone that's a win away from a title, and the champion herself. So you can't sit here and tell me that she's terrible. She just can't beat the best of the best. She's kind of a generalist as well. I mean, she has pretty good boxing, I would say. But and her jujitsu leaves a little to be desired. She gets tapped out quite frequently. But again, you have to look at who she's getting tapped out by. Like getting submitted by Mackenzie Dern. The way it happened was bad, because her fight IQ is bad. She said she was not going to go to the ground with Mackenzie Dern. She gets a knockdown and then follows her right down. So her fight IQ does scare me a tad. But I mean, it's Mackenzie Dern. If you touch the ground, she's gonna knock you out or tap you out. So then I go to the flip side and go, is Luna the same caliber? It's the same thing. They're giving her a young up and comer, someone they want to push. And Ronda's gonna get her walking papers if she loses. This is a pink slip fight for her, so she has to win. And I look over at her opposition at Luna, shaky. Listen, I know the record says 8-1. I know the UFC really wants to push this girl, but when you look at her record herself, she won a Contender Series fight to get her contract. The girl she fought to get a UFC contract was 8-6. That's not normal. You usually don't see people that are only 2 fights ahead of 500 on Contender Series. That's not. They're trying to push her. And when you look at her wins, she's fought someone that was 4-2, 0-2, 6-5, 3-1, 2-1, 0-0, 2-0. Like she's not fighting anyone with more than 2 wins. If they do have more than 2 wins, it's a negative record. It's like what are and she's doing what she's supposed to do. She has a lot of round 1 finishes. Out of her wins, they're oh gosh, they're almost all first round finishes. So you can't fault her for that per se. But she's fighting the step up she's about to take is serious. From Stephanie Frosto up to Ronda Marcos is a little bit of a jump. And I don't know how her cardio is because she wins in round 1 every single time. I know Ronda's is good. So to me personally, this is a 50-50 fight, and you're getting plus money on Ronda at plus 140. I was shaky on it, and then I remembered a few things. I remember these Contender Series people come in as big favorites and lose. And you know what I'll tell you? It's not just Contender Series people. If you have a girl that comes in as a huge favorite, they have lost every time pretty much all year. And I have proof. You look at Gardenia's last week or 2 weeks ago against Jessica Penne. I thought she won personally, but it was a split decision and it went Panay's way. You look at Cheyenne Bays. She was like a minus 200 and she was like minus 250 in her fight. She lost. She got head and arm the whole time. You look at Gloria De Paula. Jinyu Frey was about to get cut, just like Ronda Marcos. Gloria De Paula was minus 250 and she lost. It's a recurring theme. Fool me once, shame on me. But bro, this is like the 4th time. I'm going straight dog or pass. Give me Ronda as a pick. Give me Ronda as a bet. And I will have money on Ronda this weekend. Then we have the next girl fight on the card. We have Poliana Botello versus Luana Carolina. The odds, we have Poliana at minus 240, Luana at plus 200. We have over 2.5 at minus 315. And we have the under 2.5 at plus 245. We'll start with Poliana. She's nothing really to write home about. She's okay. She has decent boxing, honestly, or just stand-up game in general. I know that she just lost her last fight to Jillian Robertson, but Jillian Robertson's not bad. Her Jill's kind of another gatekeeper as well. Then you have a loss to Cynthia Calvillo. Cynthia Calvillo is really good. She's like a fight away from a title fight as well. And I don't know who this person she lost to was, her first loss, but that was back in 2014. So I have no idea. And prior to the UFC. I mean, but her wins aren't the greatest. Like Pearl Gonzalez isn't with the company, and neither is Siri Kondu or Lauren Mueller. It's like she's beating who she's supposed to be and losing when she takes a step up. She's just, there's not really much to say about her. Except for she hits hard and she's not too bad anywhere. But then you look on the flip side with Loana. The thing that scares me about her is that there was a video that came out of her doing push-ups. And she did like 3 push-ups and couldn't do anymore. So it's kind of tough to bet on someone that says that can't do push-ups, honestly. They have a she lost her last fight to Ariana Lipski and basically gave her the knee bar. She literally put her leg down there and said, take it, to the point where it looks like it was staged to get Ariana the win. She beat Priscilla Cachoeira, who I don't know how she's in the UFC. She's the worst fighter in the women's division by far. And then outside of that, she won a Contender Series fight. A lot of decisions here against, and that's the thing. You see these other girls, like the last girl, the other Luana that's making her debut, they give her cans and she's finishing them. You give this Luana a can and she's taking them to decision, or she has 2 knockouts here, but she has a few decisions on here as well. I mean, Thunder fight, she had a decision against a girl that was 0-0, making a debut. It's nothing to write home about. So honestly, I'm over this fight. It sucks. I'll take Polyana just because of who she's fought and how she looks. And as far as a bet, you can take the under if you really think Luana's that bad. But I'd probably just eat the chalk on Polyana this one and call it a day, or just stay away from it, honestly. Then the next fight is going to be a really good fight. We have Merab Dvalishvili going up against Cody Stamann. We have Merab at -240. We have Cody Stamann at +200, which is odd for Cody Stamann. We have an over 2.5 at -332, and an under 2.5 at +262. We'll start with Merab. Merab is just like his nickname says. He is a machine. This dude is out there getting 12 takedowns a fight. Like, it is ridiculous. He's just a strong little powerhouse and cardio for days. I've never seen a gas tank like this man's gas tank. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand. I feel like the man could run for like 8 miles and not like be breathing heavy at all, just standing there talking to you like he didn't just run at all. His gas tank does not make any sense. And his wins are okay. I mean, he has John Dodson, he has Gustavo Lopez are good wins. Casey Kenny's a really good win. Brad Katona's a good one. Tyrion Ware, not so much. The Ricky Simone fight was weird. He was winning that, and the whole weird guillotine ordeal. I'm just staying away from that. But he definitely could have beat Ricky Simone. He's very good. Frankie Saenz, I thought he won that split. But, I mean, it is what it is. You shouldn't be going to splits with Frankie Saenz to begin with. So, I mean, his UFC run is okay. He's on a big win streak right now. He has some losses that he wishes he could. I guarantee you if they rematched, he would win. So, I mean, he's a good, all I can think of is he has shaky stand-up. It's not the greatest. You see it improving, but it could be better. But that wrestling is so damn good that it doesn't matter. The only bad parts about him right now is that he's a main training partner for Aljo. And I know Aljo just had surgery, so he's not training with Aljo right now, who fought Cody Stamann. That would have been nice to have. And I think he switched camps momentarily for the Vegas card. But the thing is, we are in the small cage. So that's only going to help Merab get the takedowns. And the reason I say that is because either it helps a wrestler or it helps push the action, and the striker can help. Cody is also a wrestler. He wrestled collegiately as well. His boxing, I think, is a lot better than Merab's. But I've seen Cody getting taken down before, and he will get taken down again, especially with the smaller cage. If Cody hit like a truck, I would say that could benefit him. But he also has pillow fists. This dude hits so soft. Like, this dude, it's really good. Don't get me wrong. His boxing is very good. But you look at his wins. I mean, for whatever reason, I don't know who Bill Cameron is that he fought prior to UFC, but shame on you, Bill Cameron, for getting knocked out by Cody Stamann. You definitely just quit. Otherwise, yeah, you just look at he has decision. In the UFC, all he has are decisions. Literally, I don't see one finish. And I mean, these are wins. And his losses, don't get me wrong, he has good losses. I have no idea who this guy is, this Lawrence guy, for his first loss. But that was back in 2014. So you look at his UFC losses, he lost to the current champ, Aljo, and he lost to Jimmy Rivera, who was perennially like the number 5 guy in the division. So those are his 2 losses. So, like, those aren't bad losses to have. Is Merab on those levels? I would say yeah. I would say yeah. Not on the feet, but his takedowns are so frightening that, yeah, this could be a long night for Cody. Don't get me wrong. If you take a +200 shot on Cody, he could definitely outwork him. Neither one of them throw a lot, so stay the hell away from both of them on DraftKings. or it's FanDuel, whatever you use, they do not put up a lot of points. The only points they put up, well, I should say Marab does, but it's not off of it's not off of strikes. It's off of the new scoring with the ground control and the takedowns. So I actually recant my statement. You can use Marab, but stay away from Cody in all aspects. I can totally see the dogs. It's just too much value on such a good fighter at plus 200. And so if you just want to trust the talent, you can definitely take the shot. But the pick is Marab. And if I'm betting it, I would have to do Marab by decision just to get a little bit of juice on there. But it's not going to be much. I haven't taken a look at it, but I'll tell you right now, it's going to go from like minus 240 to Marab by decision is going to be like minus 190 or something. It's not going to be too much. But it's not like he's going to finish him, so you might as well. Then the next fight is probably one of my biggest locks on the card. We have Sean Strickland going up against Krzysztof Jotko. We have Sean Strickland coming in at minus 260, Jotko at plus 210. You have the over 2.5 at minus 182, under 2.5 at plus 147. And we'll start with Strickland. Honestly, I don't like the guy. Something about him just rubs me the wrong way. I don't like Sean Strickland. However, I can't doubt the talent. Dude's good. He's 22-3, and the 3 losses he has are against like Kamaru Usman. And get this, he stuck like 6 takedowns against Kamaru Usman when he fought at welterweight. That's tough to do, man. So he's got really good takedown defense. I want to say it's like 80% in the UFC takedown defense. He's good on the feet, crisp striking. It's real technical. He doesn't really make mistakes. The kid's good. I'll give it. He just annoys me. I don't know what it is. You just have those people where you look at them, they piss you off. No disrespect to Sean Strickland, but he's just that dude for me for no reason. Otherwise, he had that really bad motorcycle accident. He came back and now he's at middleweight. And honestly, he looks even better at middleweight. He's not as drained. He won his last fight against Brandon Allen and took him out easily on 2 weeks' notice. He beat Jack Martian 2 weeks before that. Kid's good. I have nothing negative to report about Sean Strickland, in all honesty. You can question his BJJ, but you can't take him down. So why does it matter? And, Krzysztof Jotko, who prides himself on being like a more of a karate striker. He likes to counter a lot, which I guess is good for him because Strickland will come forward. It's just, I haven't seen a lot from him, honestly. His last 2 fights he grappled just because he was struggling earlier. I mean, he got knocked out by Brad Tavares. That's someone else who has like 0 knockouts on his career. And he happens to be the one. You have Uriah Hall. He also got knocked out. Lost a split to David Branch. So honestly, all of his losses, guillotine choke, he got finished in he got finished in 3 of his 4 losses. And those are against like decent people he's fighting. When he's fighting cans, I mean, he went to a split with Marc-Andre Barrios. That's concerning because Mark is about to get cut. So, well, he just won his last fight, but if he lost, he was going to get cut. So, I mean, the Eric Anders fight looks okay as a win, but Eric Anders isn't like a killer, and Eric Anders was on a little bit of a downswing back then. So I can't see really good wins for Jotko on here, and I see bad losses. And stylistically, he can't take down Strickland. He's going to be forced to stand with him. So, in all honesty, I'll take Strickland. I know the odds are it's a little bit of chalk. He's at minus 260. But you just eat the chalk on this one. Unfortunately, I will probably have a bet on Sean Strickland. Then the next fight, we have Ian Cutelaba going up against Dustin Jacoby. We have Ian, who paints himself as the Hulk. So watch those weigh-ins. He comes in literally painted green every single time. And he's at minus 130. The comeback on Jacoby's plus 110. Over 1.5 is minus 110. Under 1.5 is minus 120. That's interesting to me. You have Ian Cutelaba. He's another one of these guys where he wins when he's supposed to win and he loses when he's supposed to lose. I mean, just looking at his record in the UFC, of course, we had the Magomed Ankalaev just journey where it was booked like 6 times and they fought twice and he faked being knocked out. Like Ian is a little unstable. There's a theme here. I think this is a card with just the most mentally unstable people on the card all at once. The Khalil Roundtree win, I like a lot, just because the way he did it. He is a Sambo world champion. He is good wrestling. I just think his gas tank's a little questionable. So he's one of these wrestlers that has a ton of power. Believe me, look at the dude. He calls himself the Hulk. Ian has a ton of power. And I think he fell in love with that power in his hands a little too much. And it started to kind of bite him in the ass. Losing to Cannonier and Misha Serkinov. But when you look at the guys he lost to outside of Cannonier, like Glover's about to fight for a title. Magomed, I swear, is about to be the next champ as soon as they give him a shot. Misha is kill or be killed. I mean, he's okay. He doesn't have bad losses, honestly. Even this one, he didn't even lose. It was illegal strikes. He messed up. So his fighter IQ, he's crazy. But his wins aren't the best either. Like Antagulov isn't good and he's cut. No, Roundtree isn't that good. So like he beats who he's supposed to and loses to good people. The problem is he's fighting Dustin Jacoby, who one is taking the fight on short notice, and he also has a questionable gas tank. So at least those will kind of balance out there. Dustin is just an interesting story. Where he was at Glory kickboxing for a while. He was in the UFC. He left the UFC, stopped doing MMA, and started doing kickboxing. Was great at kickboxing, made his way back to the UFC. My thing with him is his last fight against Maxime Grishin. Grishin is not known as a wrestler, and he took him down a few times. That's concerning because if Ian really wants to win, he's going to go back and lean on that Sambo background, especially if Dustin has just as bad of a cardio. If he has just as bad of a gas tank, it can balance out. But Dustin's just beating cans as well. He is not beating anyone good. Justin Ledette is god awful, and I don't know why he disrespects the MMA community. I don't know why he was in the UFC. Ty Flores is awful. I don't have much to report on Dustin besides the fact that he has shaky cardio and he's a good kickboxer, but that's all he has. So if I'm Ian, I'm just taking him right down and just doing some ground and pound. You want to trust your power, trust it when you're laying on top of him and just rain down on Dustin. So at that point, I will pick Ian. And surprisingly, I might take the over with it just being 1.5. I think Vegas expects Ian to come out and try to just swing like he always does. But I think after you get technically knocked out twice, you're a little more hesitant. I think he's going to lean on his Sambo background, and I think he's going to take Dustin down. He knows that's the easiest win. So I think he's just going to go ahead and make sure he gets that win in the win column. So I will take, actually, I'll probably, I guess it's a little better odds, -110 to -130 Eon straight up. So I'll probably just take the over 1.5. I might even bet it, in all honesty. I probably will. And then it takes us to the co-main. We have Cub Swanson coming in at +135 against Giga Chikadze at -160. Over 2.5 is -195. Under 2.5 is +155. We'll start with my boy Cub. I love me some Cub Swanson. He's an OG. He's been around since the WEC days. And I mean, there's not a lot to report back on Cub because we already know what he does. He has a pretty good stand-up. It's wild. It's not technical. He just swings, man, and he's exciting. He's someone that always cashes those fight of the night bonuses. So everyone else might as well just have a boring fight because Cub's on this card, so he's getting fight of the night. It's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He holds his own on the ground. He's real good down there. I know he has a lot of submission losses, but that's just because he's gassed and he's wild, so he kind of leaves himself susceptible with how wild he is. But really, honestly, he's durable, doesn't get knocked out a ton. Looking at it, for someone that has, how many fights does he have? For someone that has 27 wins and 11 losses, oh my gosh, it's like 40 fights. To get knocked out, gosh, I really don't see knockouts on here. I can't tell you the last time he got knocked out. I see a lot of decision and submissions. May not have ever been knocked out. So he's durable. He's very durable. Yeah, I don't see a knockout on here. So you look at his run here. You see all this red here. Shane Burgos is a killer. He's very, very good. Renato Moicano he's actually on a downswing right now, but at one point was really good. You can see he was 12-1 at the time. Frankie Ager, former champ. Brian Ortega, about to be champ. Max Holloway, GOAT. Frankie Ager again. You have Ricardo Lamas, title challenger. Chad Mendes, title challenger. Jose Aldo, one of the GOATs. Jens Palmer, former WEC champ. So like he's only lost to champions and title contenders. So it's another one of those scenarios. The only problem with him is that he's 37. So he's getting up there in age, kind of like that questionable thing. And his opponent, Giga, he's someone that's being slept on. I didn't like him at first. I thought it would be real easy to just take the kickboxer down and finish him that way. And that's how it started, in all honesty. But he's shoring up his game. Like, I mean, you look at his loss to Austin Springer. I think Austin Springer sucks. So for him to get rear naked taken down and choked out, I was like, oh my God, this guy is such a bust. But he's on a little run here. He's still on it. He's good, man. His striking, his stand-up might be the best in the division. In all honesty, Max Holloway has the best striking in the division. But outside of Max, this dude literally might be too. That glory that kickboxing background is legit on this dude. He is good on the feet. There's good cardio. And you see him working, man. He's 32. He doesn't have a ton of fights. He's 12-2. You see him working on his takedown defense. It's getting a lot better. It's just he's not fighting a ton of great wrestlers. Like Omar is really good on the ground. I feel like Omar and Cub are the same thing. Really good on the ground, really good on the feet, but can't wrestle, can't decide which way they're going to get you there. And he pieced up Omar for a while. So I'm really scared he's going to do the same to Cub. So at this point, the pick is unfortunately going to be Giga. Yeah, because Cub likes to brawl. And if you give me a brawler versus someone that fights technically, I'll take the technical guy every time. So the pick's going to be Giga. If I'm going to bet it, I might bet. My heart's going to make me bet Cub just because I've followed him for so long. He's been fighting since like 2005. I love Cub Swanson, so I know I'm going to have a bet on him with plus money. I wouldn't recommend that everyone should. But if you're ahead in the night, if you're already ahead, and you just have 2 fights left, go ahead and take the shot on Cub. Otherwise, if you're sweating and you need a parlay piece, I wouldn't put Giga in a parlay either. The pick is going to be Giga. I'll say bet Cub, dog or pass if you're going to bet it. Just enjoy the fight. It's going to be fight of the night. Don't sweat it. Literally, just enjoy the fight, or dog or pass. And then that takes us to the main. We got Dom Reyes at plus money, plus 105. We have come back on Yuri Prohaska at minus 140. Over 1.5, minus 155. Under 1.5, plus 125. We'll start with the Dominator here. Yeah, Dom is on a little bit of a rough run. But when you look at it, the dude has 2 losses. And that's the thing. Everyone's going to say, oh, he's in some trouble. He lost to the current champ and he lost to the GOAT. And in all honesty, as a New York guy, I'm still telling you that Dom beat John Jones. How was a unanimous decision, too? They gifted John that win. They gifted him that. I'm sorry. But Dom, I don't think Dom's great anywhere. Like, his cardio's good, or good enough, I should say. I mean, the striking's okay. It honestly, it balances out because I thought he lost to Volkan Ozdemir. So the John Jones and the Vulcan, he should have 2 losses no matter what. So it balanced out. He has decent power. He knocked out OSP. It says decision, but he knocked them out with 1 second left, and then they just decided to call it a decision. Cannonier, he knocked out. That's not normal. Cannonier does not get knocked out. So that's impressive. Weidman, he has a glass chin, but he did what he was supposed to. It took him under 2 minutes to knock out Weidman, a former champ. He knocked out this dude in 53 seconds, 27 seconds. Like, he has some power, and his striking is pretty technical. It's not like anything to write home about, but he's good. And his takedown defense is really good as well. He keeps the fight standing. So I mean, he's overall a good fighter. He's a top 5 guy, and I'll give Devil his due. Then you look at Yuri. He's the new hotness. Everyone loves Yuri Prohaska right now. He's 27-3. He's exciting. He does this stupid little dance where he's like, just his hands are always down, no matter what. He does not believe in keeping his hands up, and he has a ton of experience. 27-3, and he has a whole bunch of kickboxing and Muay Thai experience. And so he actually has even more fights than that. So, I mean, the kid definitely has a lot more experience. He's a lot more technical on the feet. It's just these hands low that really bothers me. He does not keep his hands up, and he's been knocked out. Got knocked out by Muhammad Malol. So King Mo, as much as I like King Mo, he is not known as a power puncher, and he's a wrestler. So if you got knocked out by King Mo, that's questionable. He got choked out, and then I believe he got knocked out by this guy as well. So I mean, it's a great record, 27-3. He's not fighting anyone. I mean, even to get into the UFC, he beat CB Dalloway. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because CB is he was a former tough competitor who fought at 170 pounds. So he beat a 205-pound welterweight to get into the UFC. Fabio Maldonado was so bad in the UFC, he got cut. Even the UFC vets that he's beating are there's a reason they're no longer in the UFC. And then the rest of these people I've never even heard of. I know he beat King Mo in a rematch. He knocked him out, but that was King Mo's retirement fight. He was so gassed and he was actually still winning that fight, but just age catches up with you, man. So I mean, he really doesn't have any impressive wins on his record until his UFC fight. Knocking out Volkan is good. Knocking out Volkan is impressive. So now I'm all types of thrown off. I wanted to label Yuri as a bust because he's just fighting cans. And now he's fighting someone that basically beat John Jones. But at the same time, I do want to point out Yuri does have some power. He is exciting. It's just Dom's chin also questionable because I have seen him rock multiple times. And Jan is not, I know Polish power, he's not known as a power puncher. I mean, you look at Jan's record, he only has 3 knockout wins. It's not normal. He's a decision guy. So the fact that he gets wobbled so much and got taken out like that by Jan, it's just fishy. I don't know about his chin. And Yuri, I can tell you, hits like a truck. So the pick, oh man. Yuri's gas tank is a little questionable, and this is a 5-round fight. So in a 3-round fight, I'm picking Yuri. In a 5-round fight, I'll probably go with Dom. But the bet, I'm just going to go over and a half. I know I just said that Dom has a questionable chin, and Yuri always keeps his hands low, but they're also kind of lower volume, and it's just set at 1.5. So if it was 2.5, I probably wouldn't touch it, but just a round and a half, I think they can make it. Even the Volkan fight that was under 1.5. Yeah, we'll just stick with it. It's good odds. I don't trust Dom enough to bet him, and it's not like it's great odds. It's only plus 105. It's basically just even money. It's not a lot of value. Yuri, I can't really trust because the man does not keep his hands up. So I'll probably just take, and it's 1.5, so I don't want to take the under. So just give me the over. It's only minus 155. Take the over 1.5. So otherwise, again, I want to remind you that I am on the Stats and Stacks podcast on Twitter as well as Instagram. I always place my fight picks then. Otherwise, I will post them post weigh-ins. I need to see what these people look like on the scales, especially people like Andreas, stuff like that. So otherwise, we will watch the weigh-ins later tonight, and we will watch the draft. Go Buffalo. I don't like the first pick, honestly. I like the kid, but not first round. He probably would still been there in the second round. So we reached a little, but it is what it is. But we're here to win money. We did so last week. We're going to do it again this week. So look out for the picks on Instagram and Twitter at Stats and Stats. And otherwise, we'll see you next week.